an encouraging, healthy path for him. And he started saying things like, I'm never going to get any GCSEs. Could he be homeschooled? I had no idea of what that looked like or where to start, but I didn't say no. After a while, I just felt this feels like the wrong path for him to be in this education system in this way. We need to explore other options.
Today's guest is my dear friend, Jo Barnard. Following a 15-year career in marketing, Jo left the corporate world in 2008 to follow her inspiration to support others with their healing. Trained in various modalities, including reiki, massage, mindfulness, life coaching, and funeral celebrancy. She also uses abstract art as a means of self-discovery, expression, and growth. Jo draws on all her experiences to support others as they move through their fears and discomfort, encouraging her clients to find healthier ways of thinking, being, and living. Welcome, Jo.
Thank you very much, Anita. It's lovely to be with you.
What is one of the most courageous things you've done? I'm sure there's many. So what is one of them?
The most courageous thing that I've done was to take my youngest son out of mainstream school and home educate.
Wow. Big decision.
It was a big decision, and the reason it took great courage was really because there was a lot of fear around that decision, around me. So lots of people were telling me the downside and all the negatives and why not to do it. And yeah, something inside of me just said, this is the right thing. So that was my courage, was to go for it in the face of adversity, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. So what made you decide to homeschool your son?
So my son at primary school was kind of falling under the radar. So he was very well behaved. So he didn't demand a lot of attention at school. And he wasn't bottom of the class. He was kind of, I'd say, the lower middle.
Okay.
Academically. But it was taking him huge effort to keep up. And he is very sociable and loves his sport. So he lived for playtime. And he was being kept in at playtime to finish his work because it was taking him longer to process and to produce the work that was asked of him. So that was at primary school. I started to notice towards the end of primary school, I started thinking, I wonder if he has dyslexia, because my youngest brother has dyslexia or is dyslexic.
As you know, I'm dyslexic too.
Yeah,
we're in great company.
We are. Absolutely. And I decided to have him privately tested because I did speak to the school about it and they didn't agree that he was dyslexic.
Okay.
I think because he was kind of managing. But he would come home after school and explode, really, because he'd been holding it all together at school. It was almost like he was treading water just to get through. And then he was coming home and just going, oh. That was out of character for him, really, to explode in that way. And so I decided to have him privately tested. And yes, he is dyslexic. I wanted everything I wanted support in place for when he started senior school.
So what
So
age was he diagnosed at?
he was diagnosed at 10
Okay.
and started senior school at age 11. And he did have great support at school. So he had extra lessons with his English, but it wasn't long into his journey at senior school that I just knew it wasn't an encouraging, healthy path for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he started saying things like, I'm never going to get any GCSEs. So, you know, we kept in contact with the school, and he had a really great SEN assistant, really lovely woman. She really went out of her way. She loved Max and encouraged him, and that was great. What I also noticed at that time was a lot of the children in the SEN departments were on a bit of a path to destruction. And it took me back to when my brother was that kind of age. And sometimes if we don't nip these things in the bud, they can get out of hand. And sadly, quite a few of the other children that Max mixed with in the extra needs department were expelled, and you know, drugs and violence, and I really believe it comes down to this feeling of I don't fit, I'm not enough, I need to rebel against this, or I need to be noticed.
Yeah, because it can often be a cry for help.
Totally, absolutely, and I think that one cry of I'm never going to get anywhere was enough to set my alarm bells ringing. And, you know, we worked with the school for a bit longer, but really after the first term, Max said to me, can I either get more help at school, like one-to-one help, or can I be homeschooled?
Wow.
He didn't warrant one-to-one help. You know, he wasn't going to get one-to-one help at school. That wasn't an option. Could he be homeschooled? I had no idea of what that looked like or where to start, but I didn't say no. After a while, I just felt this feels like the wrong path for him to be in this education system in this way. We need to explore other options. And yeah, this voice inside of me just said, it's okay. Give it a go. If it doesn't work, he can go back to school. So I think there was a lot of concern around me because Max is a very sociable child. He loves to be out. He loves to be with people. He's very active. And, you know, a lot of the stories that were coming at me were, oh, he'll end up a recluse and... Or, you know, this kind of thing. But again, this voice was like, it's okay. He won't end up a recluse because he's very sociable. So why will he end up a recluse?
So what was the school's reaction?
We went in to see the head and spoke to him about it. He wanted to keep Max at school. But he didn't really give us enough substance for it to make any difference. Yeah, it's great you want Max to stay at school, lovely, and yes, there may be a couple of things that you're willing to do to help, but it wasn't enough to solve this problem. So the school were accepting, and actually it's very easy to take your child out of the education system. It's simply, you know, you can just email them and say, as of today, my child is no longer in the education system. I'm going to privately or homeschool. So that there wasn't any fight or challenge because it was my right as a parent to take him out, and that's what he wanted.
Okay. So how were you able to help your son in homeschooling, building confidence and like he wasn't going to get very far. So that will come about.
So we started really by learning more about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I quickly discovered that Max responded well to video learning. So that was great because it meant that, you know, there are loads of resources available out there. And there is a fantastic homeschool community out there, which was wonderful. So we didn't feel alone. But video learning meant that, for example, we could watch a maths video together and then he could answer the questions. And I didn't have to be an expert in that area of maths to teach him. So that was great. Video learning was great for him. We also quickly discovered that his learning capacity was 20 minutes at a time at that point. So when he was about 11, he could focus really well for 20 minutes, and then after that nothing much went in. So anything after that was pointless. So it was very much a gentle learning curve for us both, learning what our own limitations were as humans, you know, because it was a pressure on me.
Yes, I can imagine.
And a different way of managing our day. One thing that I found really helpful at the beginning was to know that about an hour and a half of working one-to-one is pretty much as effective as a whole day at school in a class of 30 children.
Wow.
So that really took the pressure off too. So we were starting to begin with, we started our day, we took the dog out for a walk. Max has always got a football at his feet. So we were starting the day in a fun way.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd talk about while we were out, what are we going to do today? What do we need to do? What do we want to do? And he started off writing a little journal every day. So we started off with certain tasks, really, and lots of fun stuff as well. Mm-hmm. We then discovered there were homeschool clubs going on around us very locally that we had no idea about. So we started to get involved in those. Mm-hmm. Then we discovered that there were small lessons. You know, there were, for example, in our local library, there was an English lesson that was going on for homeschool kids, and it was maybe 8 children in a class, all with different needs, with a teacher that really understood each child, really cared about each child. That was fabulous. So these small classes started to evolve that we could get involved in. For Max, for example, his love is sport and football. He's pretty good at maths. He ended up taking higher maths.
Oh, wow.
English was his struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay. We work to what do we need to get him to college. Basically, he wanted to go to sports college. Well, what do we need to do in order for that to happen? He needs English and maths. He also needs 2 other qualifications. We managed to find then a school not too far from us, a senior school, who were willing to let him just come in for the lessons that he wanted.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
And that we could take, and that we could take our exams there. Fabulous. It seemed to be the whole journey of homeschooling was whenever something, a challenge arose, right, well, how are we going to tackle this? That a door just seemed to open for us, and there was always a solution because we were following. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the thing is, like you said, you start your day with positive, you follow it through. Absolutely. Many schools don't do that. You've got to find out what you're able to do and transfer the skills across the board. being able to understand what you can do. Okay, so let's go with the positive, find ways that work. Sounds like you did a brilliant job. Well done to both of you. What would you recommend to any parents that are considering homeschooling?
Well, I think every child is individual, so it's really about understanding the child's needs and wants. So what do they excel in? What do they love doing? What lights them up? What do they want to do eventually if they have an idea of that? For me, what worked was working backwards, if that makes sense. So we knew that Max would want to do something sporty. So we really worked backwards from getting him into college. Well, what does he need in order to do that? So I think it's really about understanding your child's uniqueness. What do they want to do? What are they great at? How can you encourage and bring that out of them? And are you willing and able to support them in that journey? Because it does take time. You know, I worried at the beginning that I would have to give up work, but I didn't have to give up work. I could still work, but Max's homeschooling came first. So I'm lucky that I work for myself and I could work around his needs. But, you know, that's an important factor in this. Do you have the time and energy to give this to your child?
And that's absolutely great, because it's the main two key points here. What is your child's needs, and are you able to help them? And looking at the end result and working backwards. Fantastic.
Yeah, it certainly worked for us anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Where can the listeners find you online? What's your website?
My website is theevolutionofyou.co.uk, but I'm also on Facebook, Jo Barnard, so you can find me and message me through there.
Thank you for sharing your courageous journey with us today. By doing so, I'm sure you've helped so many others. Jo Barnard.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
My final question to you is, what is your definition of courage?
My definition of courage is moving through the fear and discomfort to where you want to be. You know, so whatever's drawing you, whatever's calling you, are you willing to move through that discomfort in order to take a chance, take a risk and get there? So that to me is courage.